Pulse. Welcome UNLV students to the Shotokan Karate Studies program. By now you should know you've already warmed up, you've gotten the warm-up that you feel your body needs, you're adequate for starting the program this morning. So let's go ahead and get started with our typical, quick, general warm-up. Ready? And Hajime. Ichi. Ni. San. Yon. Go. All right, warmed up good there. Let's turn to the side, bring our heels to our glutes. Good, all right. Let's go ahead and do some high knees as well. Get my workout recorded, here we go. High knees. You can do this slow, just like I'm doing. Again, just bringing your knees up. You can do it fast if you feel like kind of bouncing a little bit, working your calves a little bit. Or if you want to go slow, go slow. And yame. All right, let's come up on our toes, stretching out our calves. And yame. Very good. All right, let's go ahead and do some body hip twists. And yame. Good. Arm up, across the side, stretching out our shoulder. Good, other side. Again, don't hold these too long. Just doing dynamic stretches here. Nothing too static, nothing being held for too long. Switching over. Other side. Good. Feet just widen shoulder width. Go down, touch the floor. Go to the right. Back to center. Go to the left. Back to center. All right, make that a little wider. We're gonna go down to the right, turning up on our left heel, stretching out our hamstring. Good, now we're gonna turn to the left in a long front stance. Pushing on the quad here, pushing the knee over the toe. And down to a runner stand, or a runner stretch. Good. Back up. All right, we're gonna do everything to the other side now. Leaning to the left onto the right heel. Toes pointed up. Stretching out your hamstring. All right, let's rotate that all the way around. Good front stance, long, deep, pushing on the quad, pushing the knee out over the toe, getting a good stretch. Transition that into a runner stretch. And come back to center, come back standing. Good. Turn around, fix your gi. Back to me. Yoi. Subirachi. Free. Yoi. Seiza. Dojo-kun. 一つ、人格完成に人を盛ること。一つ、誠の道を守ること。一つと力の精神を養うこと。一つ、礼儀を重んずること。一つ、景気の湯を戒めること。Ready? That's it. よい。しばらくち。Ready? よい。So today's class is a beginner class. And what I really want to focus on today, because I have a lot of students that are submitting to me various exams, or will you take a look at this, sensei, will you take a look at that, and I really want to take a look and go back and focus on the very basics, okay? So as a no belt, as a white belt, as a yellow belt, even as an orange belt, this is a great class that you should be coming back to at the very least once a week. All right, and this is practicing your basic Kihon techniques. All right, so you've already warmed up, and the next thing that you're going to do is go through the basics. Okay, standing in place. We're going to go through chokuzuki punch. We're going to go through your blocks. All right, your primary blocks. Then we're going to add punches to each one of those blocks. All right, then we're going to walk in stance. All right, we're not going to walk backwards in stance. All right, so I'm talking about front stance or zenku dachi. We're going to walk forward in that stance. We're going to walk forward, we're going to turn, we're going to walk forward. All right. Again, this is something that you should be doing with or at least once a week, all right, as a beginner student, and really focusing on these things, because these things are the foundation that you're building, okay, in order to build up. All right. So again, this is the foundation of your pyramid, and in order for it to go up, you have to have a very firm and sound foundation. All right. So that's what we're going to do today. We're also going to look at your kata, hand shodan and hand nidan. All right, we're going to look at taking and focusing on some power. All right, we're going to go through it slow. We're going to go through it at a regular pace, but we're also going to focus on power and really look at the kata as if it is a fight. All right, so again, putting power, emoting power. All right, putting power into those kata, and again, this should be taking the Kihon techniques that you know, and then putting them into a kata, all right, and then translating that into kumite, all right. But we're not going to do kumite today. We're going to take our kata and make it kumite. So we're going to make our kata feel like a fight. So I want you to really emote with your blocks, emote with your punches as you move forward. Okay, all right. So that is class today, all right. And again, this is something you should be doing at the very least once a week. If you are no belt, white belt, yellow belt, and even orange belts who are just received their orange belt, again, a great class for you to come back to and really focus and hone in these very basic skills. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with chokuzuki punch. So standing in shizentai or ready stance. All right, feet shoulder width apart. You don't have to have them parallel. Okay, feet can be out to the sides. Again, this is a shizentai or ready stance. All right. All right, so standing in shizentai, let's focus on this chokuzuki or this front punch. All right, so a great way to start your punch, because again, I'm having some students that are having some trouble with their punch and really putting power into their punch. All right, so the punch doesn't come up like this. It's not a rising punch. All right, the punch should come from your hip. All right, everything, again, as I said many times, drives from your hips. Okay, so the punch should come from your hip, and it should just kind of drop. It should be a natural feel. All right, so from the side, your punch should just, it's here at your hikite hand should just drop forward, okay? Just drop. All right, it's as if there's a string that's holding it right here in place. Okay, you cut the string, your hand just kind of drops and kind of slightly goes forward. Right. Once it starts moving forward, pick it up and turn the punch at the very last moment for impact. Another great way to do this is to put both hands in front. All right. So as one comes back, the other one moves forward into the hikite. As this one comes forward, the other one comes up and turns at the last moment. Again, from the side here. Okay, let's look at it from the side. All right, the next thing you need to focus on is hip drive. All right, so even though your hand is dropped and it's moving up here, I want you to drive it forward with your hip. All right, so put something behind that force that it's moving forward. It comes up, drive it forward, return to center. Okay, same thing on the other side. Drive the punch, return to center. Drive the punch, return to center. All right, your hip is twisting just slightly here. It's twisting to throw the punch and then coming back to center. Twisting to throw the punch and coming back to center. All right, it should almost look like a hip vibration here. All right, so whenever you do it with speed and power, it should look like this. All right, so there's a little bit of vibration here, and you can see the movement with the hips. Okay, this is something that you should focus on as well. Let's do it from the side. One hand in front, ready? Okay, and again, my head is not twisting, my head is not turning, my head is staying focused on my opponent right in front of me. I'm not looking down, okay? I'm not watching my belt move back and forth, okay? Your head and eyes should be up at all times, focusing again on your opponent, and your opponent should be someone of your same height. Okay, so as you go through any martial arts, any kind of kata, any kind of practice drill, anything like that, don't look at someone, if you're 5'8", don't look at someone who's 6'4", right? You're not doing this to punch them in the chest, okay? Look at someone who is your height. That's what you're focusing on. So Chudan level punches should be Chudan level. Jodan should be Jodan level. Gaidan, okay, should be Gaidan level. All right, so again, focus on someone who's your height. For any attacks that you're doing, for any Kihon drills that you're doing, don't worry about someone who's taller or shorter than you until you're working with someone who's taller or shorter than you. All right, so let's go ahead and practice again this Chokozuki punch, all right, this regular straight punch. All right, it's not an Oizuki punch, it's not a Gaikuzuki punch, it's not a front punch, it's not a reverse punch. It is just a regular punch, all right? We're not moving forward for an Oizuki or moving forward for a Gaikuzuki, all right? We're standing in place. This is a regular Chokozuki front punch. All right, so we're gonna go through this. I'll count, all right? So prepare. One hand, target hand out front. Ready? Ich, ni, son, young, go, roll, sich, hut, kyu, ju, ai. Now, man. Good. All right, so again, the things you're focusing on, that good hip twist, okay? All right, we're gonna do that a couple times, and then we're gonna move on to our blocks. All right, target hand back out in front. Ready? Ich, ni, son, young, go, roll, sich, hut, kyu, ju, ai. Now, man. Pulse. All right. Again, I'll go from the side this time, but I want you to really focus and think about that hip twist. All right? Get that hip twist in there. Give power to those punches. All right? This is not just this. All right? There is hip twist with each one of these punches. And there's a lot more power. All right? I know probably 99% of you don't have a makiwara board that you can use to punch, but standing here and punching like this is not the same as, right? There's a big difference in the amount of power that you're able to put against the target, all right? That you're able to focus on a very small target, on a small area, by throwing that punch with that hip drive behind it, all right? So let's do it again. I'll go to the side for this one. I'll go, let's do 20. So I'll go 10 here and I'll go 10 the other direction. Ready? Target hand out in front, and each, knee, some, young, go, rope, sich, hutch, cue, ju, ay. Yeah, man. Turn to the other side. For me, you guys can stay front facing if you would like. Ready? Target hand in front. Each, knee, some, young, go, rope, sich, hutch, cue, ju, ay. Yeah, man. Os. All right, very good. So, again, that is Chokuzuki punch. Start off all of your classes, all right, that you're going through. Again, orange belt and down. Go through this at the beginning of class, all right. Go through your warm up, get your body warm, ready to work out. Chokuzuki punch. Throw at least 20 punches, all right. Next up, we're going to do our blocks, all right. So let's start off with Gedan Barai. Ready? Let's go slow for this one to start. Ready? Each, knee, some, young, go, roku, sich, hachi, kyu, ju, hai. Now, man. All right. Key components to this block. You're bringing your hand up towards your ear, okay, as if you have a phone, an old school phone in your hand, and you're trying to put the earpiece to your ear and the mouthpiece to your mouth, all right, on this side and this side, all right. Elbows should come together in the middle, all right. Again, you're blocking the center of your body, all right. So you're blocking the center of your body, and then as you block, there is a slight turn. There's a twist, right? You're lowering your profile to your opponent, your target area. You're deflecting, all right, the kick that's coming towards you to the left and to the right, right? So whenever you're blocking here, you're deflecting this direction. Same thing here, you're blocking and deflecting in that direction, all right? So I'm not turning my feet, if my feet are staying in place, all right, but there is a twist that's happening, right? And it helps put power into the block, right? That hip twist, that reverse twist puts power into the block. It's much more powerful than just standing here like this, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, all right? Throw your hip into the block, all right? It does help. So let's practice this one. All right, we're going to do a 10 count again. This time we're going to go a little bit faster, throw a little bit more power behind these blocks. Ready? And each, knee, some, young, go, rope, sich, hutch, cue, ju, ay. Okay. All right, again, the center should come here. This hand should come down, the blocking hand should come down the other arm. As it goes into hikite, the twist, it's kind of like you're pulling on your belt. You grabbed your belt here and you're pulling your belt back. Right, you grabbed it and you're pulling it back to the side, allowing this hand to come down for the block. Same thing on this side, you're coming up. With this hand, you're grabbing your belt and pulling it. All right, to kind of turn your hips to throw that block. Okay, this time with speed and power. All right, I don't need to turn to the side for this one. I feel like it's more appropriate to be in front of you here. All right, so again, this time speed and power. Good hip twist. If you need to over-exaggerate it here, just to over-exaggerate it, that's fine. All right, we're just practicing the actual Kihon technique. So if you need to over-exaggerate it, do that. You're not going to be able to really over-exaggerate it when you're walking in stance, but for the drill, if you need to over-exaggerate it, you can, and that's, I mean, just really, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to do I'm actually going to do the drill. All right, so make sure there's hip twist. All right, your belt should be facing at a slight angle when you throw this block. Okay, if you want, you can keep an eye on that just to kind of make sure, is that really happening? And I'm saying you keep your eye on my belt. Don't look down to make sure your belt is twisting back and forth. Keep your eyes up and on your opponent. Okay, Yoi. Ready? Gate number I. Ich, ni, son, yon, go, ro, sich, hutch, chew, oi. Okay. Pulse. Very good. All right. Next up, we're going to work on. Let's do uchi-uke. All right. So, well, actually, let's do age-uke, because just trying to think of the order that you really learn these blocks. And the first block you learn is Gedan. Second is age-uke, so your rising block. So let's work on age-uke rising block. Now, there's a couple of different ways and schools of thought on doing age-uke rising block. And when I teach my students at my school, in the beginning, like years ago, I taught this block. All right, so it does look like a window pane is opening. All right, now I've kind of turned in this new school version of coming up through the middle and turning out at the end, up through the middle and turning out at the end. All right, the reasons behind that, there's more power here as opposed to here. And you can test that, right? I think I've said this in other videos in the past, that there's an easy way to test this. You can have someone hold your arm in place and you try to lift your arm. Then have someone hold your fist down as you come straight up and turn it out to the side. This is going to be more difficult for them to stop. This is going to be much easier for you to lift and turn out. This is going to be easy for them to defeat, because it's not a straight line. The straight line is here, and therefore it's weak. Right? Here, the straight line is straight up and down. And this is where you're trying to block and defend against. So when they hold this down, right, turn this side, when they hold this down, there's a line that's driving straight up. It's much more difficult for your opponent to keep that in place. It's easier for you to drive that up and turn it out to the side. This, again, tends to want to do this. If it gets grabbed or held or there's something in the way, it turns down, right? And it's not as effective. All right, so think about that. I'm not telling you one way is more correct than the other, because again, there's different schools of thought on each block. Okay, whether, you know, here and here versus here and here. Okay, you can try a hybrid style if you want. If you're trying to kind of. But the key thing here is that the block is moving from the waist up and a deflection out to the side. And again, there is hip twist here. It's very similar to Gedan, except it's here. Okay, Gedan would be here, age-uke would be here. Right? There's no difference in what's happening with my body below the block or above the block, right? So keep that in mind, that the blocks are very similar and that your hip twist is still the same. You're putting power into that block, you're minimizing your target area to your opponent and deflecting. Deflecting. Okay? Deflecting here versus deflecting here. So just think about that when you go through this block, all right? If you're one of the people who are trying to do the more vertical style block where you're coming up and turning out, right? Your hands are still going to come together just like normal age-uke block, right? So you're here. All right. Same thing as if you were doing it the other way, which is here. All right, your arms will cross for the more indirect version. Your arms kind of come. Okay, your arms do cross for both. All right. So that part shouldn't be too much different. It's just the angle they're ending up throwing the blocks. Okay. So again, pick your style. The more vertical version, you can easily imagine a very light shelf here. Maybe it's on some brackets and you're just punching up through that shelf and then turning your block out. That same shelf is back and you're dropping your elbow through that shelf to come back as the other arm comes up. All right, so that's what I want you to try to imagine. If this is new to you to do the more vertical version, imagine that shelf. All right, that shelf you're punching through, and the shelf you're driving your elbow through to bring the block back down. All right, so power, emote that power, elbow to come back as the other one comes back up. Your arms will cross, so there is a cross here in the middle, just as with gate on here. There's a cross this way with your hands and your arms as you go up to that block. Okay, so there's a lot of things that go into this block, and I want you to keep all those things in mind. We're going to go slow for this first set. Mark your target. Ready? Each, knee, some, young, go, rope, siege, hutch, cue, Jew, hey. Amen. All right, so hopefully you're seeing hip twist. All right, hopefully you're seeing hands crossing. Hopefully you're seeing very vertical movement. All right, that's what you should be looking for this block. Like, speed it up a little bit. Ready? Mark your target. And each, knee, some, young, go, rope, siege, hutch, cue, Jew, hey. All right, very good. Now we're going to speed it up more. All right, this time speed and power. This time someone is throwing a punch directly at you and you're blocking and deflecting it. If you're able to work with a partner, outstanding. Let them throw some light punches and get those punches defended or blocked. Okay? And they don't have to, again, if you have a partner, it's really great to be able to do this, because then you could trade off. One person can throw the punches while the other one blocks, and then you switch, right? If you don't have someone to work with, standing and doing this at the beginning of your class to make sure that you're ready to go through the rest of the class, this is a great way to begin every class. Warm up, punches, go through your basic blocks, then start your class, okay? So this time, speed and power. Ready? Mark your target. And each, knee, some, young, go, rope, siege, hutch, cue, Jew, hey. Amen. Pulse. All right, good job. So there's gate number I. There's Aye Uke. Next up is Uchi Uke. All right, so Uchi Uke. This one I like to, again, tell my students, imagine you're wearing that tool belt. You have a belt on. You're grabbing a screwdriver from the belt. All right, the screwdriver, you grab a screwdriver. All right, the screwdriver is tucked into your belt, right over here. This is your tool belt. You're grabbing that screwdriver and turning it and stabbing it into the wall. The screwdriver is now here. You're going to grab the screwdriver, turn it, and stab it into the wall. Screwdriver is here. Grab it, turn it, and stab it into the wall. That's what you're doing with this block. That's what this block should look like. All right? grab and block. Again, you should be able to easily pick up on this hip twist, right? Gedan, hip twist, hip twist. Ageuke, hip twist, hip twist. Uchiuke, hip twist, hip twist. Notice there's a trend. Hip twist is very important. Chokuzuki punch, hip twist. All right, it comes back to center with the punch, but with these blocks, they tend to stay out there until the block is finished, and then you're ready to move on to the next block. But if you're standing here, there's the block. All right, so make sure that hip twist is present. Make sure that power is there. Can you drive that screwdriver blade through the wall, through that piece of drywall that's standing right here on either side of you? Grab it, drive it through the wall. Grab it, drive it through the wall. How do you get more power? Okay, how do you get more power to be able to drive that screwdriver into the wall? You don't just stand here and do this. If I want to really torque it and put it in there, I'm going to twist to help give my arm that good stabbing motion into the side. That's what you're doing here. When that punch comes in, you're blocking it off to the side, you want to emote power there. Emote power there, right? It's not just that you're taking this and, all right, throw it with power. All right, give that hip twist in there. It's very important. Again, it's part of the foundation, right? If you don't have that hip twist now, you're not going to build the foundation to properly be able to throw these blocks later. And if, again, you're able to work with a partner, you can feel a difference. When they throw that punch and you block out to the side like this versus this, they're going to be able to tell a difference, and so are you. You're going to feel it in your wrists, okay? Being able to work with a partner has a very valuable component to it, and that is being able to kind of lock and knock wrists, all right? It's a great way to warm up. Is to just build up that tolerance of what it feels like to knock wrists, all right? I know a lot of instructors will tell you, well, take off your watch before we get started today. Take off your watch. I don't want to get hit by your watch. Is that what you're going to tell someone in a bar fight? Is that what you're going to tell the mugger who's getting ready to take your wallet and your phone? No. You're not going to say, well, if you don't mind, take your watch off real quick before we get started. No, you're not going to do that, okay? So work with it, work around it. What does it feel like to have someone knock wrist with you when they're wearing a watch? What does it feel like when they're wearing their beaded jewelry on their wrists? Okay, their bracelets, things like that. If they're willing to work with them during a class, work with them during a class, okay? It's real world as much as possible. So now I don't like jewelry that might be hanging around your neck because that can get caught up in a gi whenever you're grabbing, and that's going to get broken, okay? Watches tend to not get broken because they're not getting grabbed and pulled on. Okay. All right, so let's try this uchi-uke. Let's try slow. Ready? Ichi, ni, san, yon, go, roku, shichi, hachi, kyu, jiu, ai. Good. Amen. Let's do it again. A little bit more power. All right, not full power yet. This is medium. Ready? Ichi, ni, san, yon. Was that 4? Okay, sorry. Go. Roku, shichi, hachi, kyu, jiu, oi. All right. Let's talk about height. We're going to turn to the side this time so you can see the height of this block. This block is not up here. It's not down here. It's right about here. All right. Should be just below your shoulder. All right. My shoulder is here. That block. Look at where my fist is for the block. Okay. Look where my fist is for the block. All right. Again, it's just below the line of my shoulder. This would be the line of my shoulder. The block is 5 inches below that, right? Don't put your block up here and don't put it down here, okay? Up here, it may be effective. It depends, again, on your opponent, but typically the block is below the line of your shoulder, the line at the top of your shoulder, okay? I'm turned to the side. You can still watch me here. Ready? This time I want some speed and power, okay? Ready? Each, knee, some, young, go, rope, seach, hutch, cue, chew, hey. Let me go one more time. I want to face you with the speed and power version. All right, ready? Each, knee, some, young, go, rope, seach, hutch, cue, chew, hey. Amen. All right, very good. I would work Soto Ryuke, but time-wise, I really want to get moving on some of your stances, okay? Because again, there's some very important things that need to be picked up on by my students, and I want to make sure you're doing that. All right, so walking in Zenku Sudachi. We're not going to walk backwards, all right? Because at this belt level, you're really not walking backwards very much, at least not for kata. For the kumite, for the self-defense, you are, but I want to focus on walking forward today. And again, as part of your warm-up, if you're just warming up and walking in stance, this is something I want you to really work on, is walking forward in your stance. All right, so standing in Shizentai, step out into the front stance, Zenku Sudachi. All right, so a lot of beginners, and I do this as well still, is sweep. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, but as you get more and more advanced, that sweep will start to go away, and it'll become more of just a step. Okay. Neither is wrong and neither is right. All right, they're both just equal as far as how you feel you want to move forward in your stance. The thing that I want to make sure you understand is make sure that you have a wide stance. All right, you can have a very linear stance, okay, but it's not as stable. Okay, it can be very wobbly. But if you just take that front foot out to the, depending, the left or the right a little bit further, your stance, your structure becomes much more solid, right? Okay, same thing if you have like a tripod, right? If it's very, very small, again, it's easy to tip left and right, but the more you widen it, the more stable it becomes, right? Whenever you start to separate the legs of that tripod or bipod, the more that you separate the legs, the more stable it becomes, all right? And the lower you become as well, right? You don't have so much to work with here, so the more it stretches out, the lower it becomes, but also the more stable it becomes. Okay, so try to find a happy medium with that stance so that you feel comfortable, number one. Number two, you're not leaning forward, you're not leaning back. All right, your body is upright. Your front foot should be, the outside edge of your front foot should be facing your opponent. Okay, so not necessarily the inside part of your foot, because then the outside of my foot is kind of off at an angle this way. So angle that foot in a little bit so that the outside of your foot is facing forward. Your rear foot, again, this is going to vary depending on, number one, ankle mobility. But as a beginner, I tend to have my students turn out to the side. And as you get more and more advanced, they'll turn more forward. So the more forward that you can turn it, the better. Okay, so that it almost looks like both of your feet are kind of this way. Okay. So this one is kind of turned a little bit because the outside edge wants to face forward. This foot is typically back like this, but if you can turn it more like this and stretch it off to the side, your stance becomes a little bit more stable. Moving in this stance, okay, this is very important, and I see this a lot with almost every student as a beginner. They turn this foot out when they walk. Okay, what do I mean? If you stand back here, and I get into a good Zenku Sudachi front stance, and I start walking forward, watch my front foot. Turn, step. Good. Turn, step. My steps are good, but why am I turning my front foot out? I turn it, and then I step. Okay? Don't do that. All right? As much as possible, this is a habit you have to try to break. What you want to do when you're moving is transfer your weight. Okay? That keeps you from doing that turnout. Okay? So when you're here, if you transfer your weight to your front foot and then pick up your back foot, okay, your foot doesn't turn out. All right? Again, I'm not leaning forward, so I don't want you to get that. I'm not leaning forward. I'm transferring my weight forward. Transfer, step. Transfer, step. All right? Transfer your weight forward to get that, to start lean, I don't want to say lean, transfer your weight forward. It begins to pick up your back foot, and you have no choice but to take a step. Transfer, step. All right? Avoid telegraphing as much as possible. Okay? This is what I don't want to see, is this turnout and then the step. Because what you're doing, your brain is saying, my front foot is going to become my back foot. My back foot is slightly turned out. Therefore, I want to go ahead and turn out my front foot so it becomes my back foot. So you turn it so you don't have to do anything whenever you step. You turn it so you don't have to do anything when you step. All right? That's what your brain is telling you. That's what your brain is doing. But what you want to do is just transfer your weight. Right? Instead of thinking about this as a step, think about it as a transference of weight. Transfer, move forward. Transfer, move forward. Okay? That is what you're trying to do as much as possible. I know when you're in a Kihon fight or kumite, that stuff tends to go out the window. But if you practice this as much as possible, right, it starts to become muscle memory. And your moves become more powerful. You start to look more like a student of karate. And this also goes back to kumite, right? If you're doing a straight line structure kumite, or you're standing here like this, and you don't want your opponent to know what you're doing, the last thing you want to do is turn your foot out, because then what? They know you're getting ready to take a step forward, okay? If I do this, they know, I know, they just turned out their right foot, or their left foot. They're getting ready to walk towards me with their back foot. What do I want to do, right? You can start thinking about the different ways to counter this as soon as you see that foot move. As soon as you see that foot move, you know they're getting ready to come towards me. What do I want to do? I'm going to launch into a front kick. I'm going to launch into a long kazamazuki. I'm going to keep them in their place. They don't want, I'm not going to give them the time to walk up on me. So if you don't telegraph, you don't have your opponent knowing what you're getting ready to do. All right, so it's very important, and I want to really try to work on that. I want you to really try to work on that as well. All right, so let's walk forward in this Zenku Sudachi stance. We're going to walk here and there and there. So again, you can see it from the sides. All right, we're starting to run out of time. I really thought I was going to get more into this. So we'll pick this up in our next beginner class as well, just to go through some good Kihon techniques. We'll move through things a little bit faster than we're moving through them today. But today I just really want to lay foundation so that we can, when we pick up next week, we'll move a little faster as we go through this. Okay? All right, so step into a good Zenku Sudachi front stance. Good. All right, now we're going to walk forward. All right, so I want you to think about transferring your weight and walking forward. We're not going to walk backwards. We're going to do a moate at the end. We're going to turn and come back to where I'm standing now. Ready? Ichi, ni, san, yon. All right, moate, so turn. I just want to make sure I have enough room, so I kind of take an extra step there. Ready? Ichi, ni, san, yon. Moate. Amen. All right, very good. Now we're going to go to the sides and do the same thing. So again, some things to think about. All right, Keep your body upright. Low ceiling, all right? I don't want you to bob your head, okay? So remember these very, very basics, right? This is before you even had a belt on. These are the things that I was teaching. Again, your head should not rise. Okay, it's not going up and down. All right, I'm not doing this. Okay, don't bob your head. All right, everything should be very linear. Again, as if you're walking under a low ceiling. All right, if you're 5'8", imagine you're you're walking under a 5'3" ceiling and you don't want to bump your head. Okay, that's what you're trying to do. That's what you're trying to think. So whatever your height currently is, imagine you're walking under a ceiling that's about 3 inches shorter than you are, and walk through that in this stance. All right, so let's go to this side. We're going to do the same thing. Ready? All right, step out into a good Zenkusudachi front stance. Hands on your hips. All right, modify your stance as needed. Okay, this is a good chance for you to practice and work through what you feel like your stance should be. So front stance. All right, do you want it wider? Do you want it to be a little bit more narrow? How's your foot in the back? How's your ankle? How's your foot turned? All right, this is a good opportunity for you to try to figure those things out so that you can lock in how you want your front stance to be going forward at all times. Ready? You're going to walk forward and do the same thing. We're going to turn at the end and come back. Ready? Ichi, ni, san, yon, one. Ready? Ichi, ni, san, yon, one. Yummy? Okay. All right, so the things that you thought about, did they all come together there? I'm gonna do it one more time, but try to put all these things together. All right, transferring your weight, not telegraphing with that front foot. Is your back foot wide? And is it turned in an angle that you feel comfortable walking in? Your heel is gonna come up off the floor whenever you start your movement forward. Other than that, are your heels down on the floor? Height, are you bobbing your head up and down? Is your body straight up and down during this entire process, not leaning forward or leaning back? Right? A lot of elements to go into this front stance, a lot of things for you to think about, but these are all things that should go into your front stance. All right, ready? Hands on your hips. Good Zenkusudachi front stance. All right, ready? Feel comfortable in your stance first. Lock in a good, comfortable front stance. Ready? Ichi, ni, san, yon, one. Ready? Ichi, ni, san, yon, one. Yummy? All right, very good. All right, so there's your front stance. Not telegraphing with that front foot. And all the other elements that I just mentioned. Your body is upright. You're transferring your weight whenever you're moving forward. You're not leaning forward, you're not leaning back, you're not bobbing your head up and down as you move through this stance. All of those things are very important. All of these things are basics. All of these things are foundation. All right? What we've done is what you should be doing at the beginning of every class after you warm up, right? After you've stretched your muscles out, after you've warmed up your body, your blood is flowing, your heart rate is up, stand in place. Practice Chokuzuki punch, give me 20. Practice Agi-uke, give me 20. Practice Gedo Mirai, give me 20. Practice Uchi-uke, give me 20. And then walk through Zenkusudachi front stance. Take at least 20 steps, all right? However you want to do that, and I don't mean backwards, I mean 20 steps forward. If you have to go 5 and then turn, 5 and then turn, 5 and then turn, do that. All right, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, we didn't have enough time. I really wanted to get into kata next, but next week we will do that. So the next beginner class, we're going to do exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to start, we're going to do our warm-up just like always. We're going to come back to center. We're We're going to do our Chokuzuki punch times 20, Age Uke times 20, Ge Nambarai times 20, Uchi Uke times 20. We're going to walk in Zenkutu Sudachi times 20. And then we're going to go into our kata. And we're going to really put some power behind that kata. So just like we started with our Chokuzuki punch, slow. Are we doing it properly? Is there hip twist? Okay? That's how we're going to start our kata. All right? And then we're going to slowly ramp it up to the point where when you start your kata and you turn, you're throwing that block with power. The next punch that comes, you're throwing that punch with power. All right? Because I get a lot of students who at this point just go through the motions. All right? It's not a dance. Okay? So I just want to kind of set the stage for next week. That's what we're going to be doing next week. All right? So stay tuned. It's a great class to at least get you going, really get that foundation built so that you can actually say to yourself, all right, this is what I need to work on. I'm going to work on this. Next week, we're going to go through exactly what it would be like to start a class and really get those foundational elements in place, work on some kata, and then in class. All right, so that's pretty much what we've done today, is just kind of giving you that foundation before we actually move into the class portion. I won't talk as much, all right? I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm trying to really build in the reasons behind the things we're doing. Next week, I don't have to do that as much. Next week, we're just going to move right through it. Because you've gone through this class, you know what I'm talking about in the next class, so it just makes more sense to just roll through it, get through those basic Kihon techniques, and then get into the class portion that I want to teach, which is the kata portion. All right, so we're just going to make sure we're practicing those beginner kata. Your Heian Shodan and your Heian Nidan. We may even work on Takioku Shodan and Takioku Nidan as well, just because they are following the pattern of Heian Shodan, but you're getting blocks and punches in there that you probably need to practice as well. Okay, so let's come back to center of class. Yoi, Subidachi, right? Yoi, Seiza. All right, in today's meditation, I want you to choose at least one, if not two, things that we worked on today and go through them in your mind. All right, like I said, we go through 20 is what you're going through next week. So go through 20 in your mind and go through those basic portions of it. Break it down. All right, is there a hip twist? All right, depending on if you're talking about a block, are you coming to center, crossing your arms in front of your body, twisting at the end? For your Zenkutu Sudachi front stance, if that's something you want to think about. Thinking about all the elements going into that. How are your feet placed? Not telegraphing, not leaning, not bobbing when you walk. Right? Go through one of these or two of these in your mind. Ready? Okuso. Mokusoyame, Sensen Yure. Tate. Yoi. Subidachi. Right. Yoi. Os. All right. Thank you, students, for joining me for this basics class. A great class to come back to. Remember this class. Save it in your favorites. Come back just to get the foundational portion of this class. Next week is the class that you really want to go back to say, this is how I should start every class. We're not there yet. We're not in the future. So right now, for now, practice this class. A great class to come back to really lock in and understand those Kihon techniques, those Kihon elements, maybe even before an exam, A great class to review if you're getting ready to go for your white belt or your yellow belt or your orange belt, to make sure you're going through these things to say, do I have this right? Am I turning my hips? Is this something I want to put out in front of my sensei to submit for an exam? All right, so a great class to come back to think about those things. Thank you for joining me for this class. We'll see you next week in another beginner class. Os.